This is Radar for On the Radar Table coming at you with another edition of MLB Observations, Week 11 of the 2025 season. Miami. Xavier Edwards should always be in the leadoff spot. Otto Lopez has no business batting third or fourth, and sluggers like Jesus Sanchez and the youngster catcher Ramirez have no business batting one or two. They should be middle of the lineup. Winkler is not a first baseman. He's a middle infielder, and Hicks is the catcher. If you're going to go with three catchers, cool, DH Ramirez, because that's what he is, a really good hitter. Wagaman and Paulie are guys that they play at first base. That's why they stupidly DFA'd Matt Mervis, because they have guys at first base. But if they're playing catchers at first base or guys out of position, you should actually play a natural-born first baseman. But I don't know what to tell you there. So they're like, you know what? That's what we're going to do with Wagaman. But we're going to have him also play the outfield when he's not an outfielder. That's why it's stupid. Senenhoya, he's also an infielder, not an outfielder. He did play some third base. Kyle Stowers, when he plays center field, I'm like, cool, that's his natural position. And Jansen Junk has been a starting pitcher in this league and not a reliever. But that's what they're doing. Tampa Bay. When Aranda plays first base, that should always mean that Yanni Diaz should DH. Days that Aranda plays second base, you would make sense that Brandon Lau DHs. But because Aranda's not a first baseman, there's really nowhere to put him. Caballero is an infield playing the outfield, so Christopher Morel. Curtis Meade's a really good defensive third baseman, but he's not a second baseman, and he shouldn't be batting him second. Diaz should always be in the middle lineup and not leading off. I like when it's Josh Lau at the top. That's totally fine if he's not going to bat in the middle lineup. I guess he could be a leadoff hitter. Brandon Lau keeps moving back and forth between between second and third in the lineup. Keep him in one spot. Philly. Trey Turner leading off has been consistent, but Kyle Schwarber should not be batting second. It was good when he was batting cleanup behind Bryce Harper. Wilson's an infielder playing the outfielder. And when it's Stott and Trey Turner 1 and 2 and they push Kyle down to the 3 spot because Harper's hurt, cool. That's when it actually makes sense. Joe Ross actually started a game. He didn't pitch a full starting rep. He did like 3 or 4 innings, but that's what he is, a starting pitcher. Both he and Tayshaun Walker as starting pitchers pitch out of bullpen. Pittsburgh. O'Neal Cruz and Andrew McCutchen are they're supposed to be in the lineup. The reason you got Andrew McCutchen was to give protection to Cruz and Brian Reynolds. Not for them to be 1 and 2. And again, Cruz has no business playing center field. Adam Frazier, second baseman, has no business playing the outfield. IKF shouldn't be the guy playing shortstop. It should be Gonzalez or Chirillo. But at least they let Gonzalez bat leadoff once because he's definitely not a cleanup hitter. Canario's also not a cleanup hitter. He's a young, inexperienced outfielder. And then Reynolds should not be playing right field to accommodate an older guy like Pham. Should just kept Reynolds in left field. And Chirillo actually got started shortstop, and I think third base, so he's actually playing his actual positions, not when they're having him playing first base. When the Rangers, Josh Smith has become that super utility guy where they've had nothing at the first base production and nothing in center field. He's out there playing that, but he's much better suited to play second base at third base, and him leading off is fine. Langford, stop back, moving him back and forth between 2 and 3. You got to just keep him in the same spot. Seager, I like him batting third, but Simeon should stay either 1 or 2 or at the bottom. He's not a cleanup hitter. Haggerty is, again, second baseman playing the outfield, but at least he played some second recently. Higgyosha is their backup catcher, not a DH. Evan Carter playing center field is what the plan was. Ezekiel Duran, their original super utility guy before Josh Smith came around, he pitched in a blowout. Washington, when you do CJ Abrams, Rosario, and James Wood 1, 2, and 3, makes sense. But when you put Wood second and Rosario like 3 or 4, or Garcia, it's like it doesn't make any sense. Wood should stay in the 3 spot every single day, and they put Garcia second. Red Sox. With Bregman out for a bit and Tristan Casas out for the whole season, you would think, also with Yoshida still not playing, that you think, you know what, we'll play Devers in the 3 or 4 spot. Nope, we're going to go with either rookies like Campbell or the guys that they've called up to play right field and third base, or we're going to go glove first sophomore Abreu or rookie Narvaez in the middle lineup, and those are not middle lineup hitters. And then Roman Gonzalez probably should be playing third base because he's a natural-born shortstop. And continue to just have Abraham Turrell play first base. Refsnyder is an infielder, playing the outfield, and also he should not be in the middle lineup. Yankees. Grisham should be leading off or batting second if you're going to continue actually using him unlike you did last year. Judge should consistently bat third. Stop putting him second. Bellinger is moving around between right field, left field, and center field. I would say keep him on one spot. I like that he's in the middle lineup. Jazz Chisholm, I'm glad he's back from the injured list, but he's not a middle lineup hitter, nor is Volpe. And Goldschmidt and Rice, like Judge, have no business being the 1 and 2 spots. They're supposed to be in the middle. And then again, DJ LeMahieu gets to play second base. Now that he's back from the injured list, which is cool, but Jazz now at third base. I like DJ LeMahieu a lot. It was one of my favorite players, and Jazz Chisholm is one of my favorite players. But DJ LeMahieu is not at this point in his career an everyday player. Jazz Chisholm is. He should be able to play second base. Arizona, Marte and Perdomo or Carroll in the 1 or 2 spots, those make sense. It's him batting third. Perdomo is not a 3 hitter. Tawa's a shortstop playing first base in the outfield. and Herrera, the backup catcher, pitched a blowout. Reds, the man if it's TJ Friedel 1, and you either go Espinal or Gavin Lux 2nd, those guys make sense. Speed and contact. De La Cruz is usually batting 3rd, and I'm just like, okay, cool. But one time they did Stevenson and Steer, which is interesting. But again, De La Cruz is more of a top-of-the-lineup hitter, not middle. So I'm glad that Steven and Steer are batting more consistently in the 3, 4, and 5 spots, because that's where power guys bat. But again, Spencer Steer should not have to play the outfield because Encarnacion Strand is back, and he's been batting 3rd or 4th a lot recently and moving back and forth between first base and third base. Just keep this guy at third base because he's a much better offensive player than Marte and a much better offensive player than Espinal. And then Hampson and Joe again are infielders playing the outfield. Same thing with Lux. At least when Lux bats 2nd and Hampson played second base once, it was cool. Wade Miley started the game because they called him up recently, and Ashcraft is still starting pitch out of bullpen at Cubs. The Hap Tucker, Seiya 1 through 3, they keep doing that, and either Swanson or PCA are batting 4th and 5th. Like again, you're missing the whole speed and contact thing. You're going with your 3 best. It looks like they're going with their 4 best offensive players first, no matter who they are. And then like Nico and Swanson again should be 6 or 7. Brujan played center field because the Cubs are one of the only teams that have a real backup outfielder because that is Seiya Suzuki, their DH, but he's never going to play center field. So they don't have a backup outfielder. So Brujan gets to play them, which is weird. And then Brad Keller, Drew Pomerantz, and Chris Flexen are just 3 starting pitchers in their career pitching a bullpen. I don't know if John Birdie's hurt, but he's played some outfield too, but I haven't seen him. Detroit, either Parker Meadows is leading off or at the bottom. It's whatever. Those make sense. Gleyber Torres, an offensive first, second baseman. I wouldn't bat him 2nd. And I don't want to bat Carpenter in the top lineup, so I'm glad he's in the middle, but he's also not an outfielder. You're like, oh, he made a great play tonight. Yeah, because the Tigers have put him so many innings out there, he's eventually going to make nice plays. He should always be DHing. Riley Green, I wouldn't put him 3rd or 4th, but you don't consistently put Carpenter or Torres in the middle lineup. Dingler's not a cleanup hitter. He was a backup catcher to start the season. The Tigers did it twice. They did an opener and then had this Montero and this Gibson long both start. They tried doing that before. It's not going to work. Houston, Pena leading off has been great, but Perez and Altuve, one's batting 2nd, one's batting 3rd. Switch the 2 of them and stop going back and forth between Altuve, second base, or left field. Just keep him in one spot. And then infielders, Dubon and Smith playing the outfield, and Whitcomb playing second base when he's not a second baseman, apparently. Cleveland. I don't care if Angel Martinez is leading off, batting 2nd, or batting 8th or 9th. That's where he belongs. He's not a center fielder, so I'm glad when he plays second base. Fry is a DH. He should not be batting 2nd. Schneeman's also an infielder. Should not be playing the outfield. Nolan Jones is a converted third baseman playing the outfield, so him playing corner is fine, but not center field. Lane Thomas, I'm glad he's back and batting in the 1 or 2 spot because that makes sense. And then Junis and Allard, I just want to point out, they're both starting pitchers pitching on the bullpen. Royals, the India and Witt 1 and 2 has been great. I don't get the Miguel Garcia batting 3rd, but it is what they're doing. And India, they scrapped the whole left field option, but that means that they're going to play like Massey or Garcia in the outfield, which is stupid. Also, Marquand in the outfield, the first baseman. They lost DH maneuvering, and again, if you're going to give Sal Perez the day off, just don't play him at first base. White Sox, I don't care if it's Talkman and Chase Mydriff 1 and 2. I don't care if Vargas is batting 3rd or 4th, and you kind of hide Benintendi and Robert throughout the lineup. And you want to bat the young 2 rookie catchers, cool. But don't put Vargas 2nd, and don't keep sliding back and forth between first base and third base. Just keep Tim Elko at first base. They also did multiple bullpen games, which is embarrassing of enough actual starting pitching. Like, they got rid of Wilson, but they still, between Adrian Hauser and they got Owen White in the bullpen, they got guys who can actually start. And then Palacios, it's a waste to bat him clean up or DH him when you could DH Robert or Benintendi or Vargas. Like, I don't know what they're doing there. And I mentioned this White guy, Owen White. He pitched out of the bullpen when he can actually start. And then Capra's the only infield. The White Sox are the only team that have 1 backup infielder and 3 or 4 backup outfielders, and Capra is really limited to the corner infield. He's not a shortstop, he's not a second baseman, but he's playing a lot there. Blue Jays, Bo Bichette in the top of the lineup is great, but Vlad has no business batting 2nd. There's a reason why you have Varsho and you have Springer and Santander. They're also supposed to protect him in the lineup, so Vlad should be batting 2nd. Schneider, they call him up, and he's playing both outfield and second base when he's a second baseman. Barger, he's going back and forth between outfield and third base when he should be just playing third base. Turnbull, they just brought him up, and then Rodriguez and Lauer, all 3 starting pitchers, they pitch out of bullpen, but Lauer at least started 1. And in Menace, he's been all over the place. He's batting cleanup to start the year, then he was batting at 8th or 9th, now 5th. I'm like, just keep him in one spot. He's not a power guy. And Aaron Clement is a backup shortstop, not the backup first baseman. Twins. Byron Bucks leading off is great, but him and Larnach and Jeffers should not be batting 1 and 2. They should be in the lineup with Correa, not like the youngster Brooks Lee or whatever they're doing there, Willie Castro. He also stopped playing him in the outfield. They lost the DH maneuvering, I think, once or twice, and Jonah O'Brien pitched twice. Padres. Tatis, I would prefer him to bat 3rd, not leadoff. A 2nd, maybe. Let Lariz bat leadoff. And Merrill's been a really good player, but I think he's more of a 5 or 6 hitter than a cleanup. Cronenworth, I thought the days of him playing first base were over. Keep him at 2nd. Wade and Sheets are both not outfielders. What are you doing? And then one day Bogarts let off, which I don't get. Brewer. Terang, Churio, Yelich, Contreras, that's a great 1 through 4. What it makes it dumb is when Contreras bats second, when he should be middle of the lineup, and Cameron, who's like their fifth or sixth outfielder they've used this year, he's a backup, not a fifth hitter. And then Bauer's still playing outfield when he's a first baseman DH, and they don't really have a DH unless they DH Yelich. And then Collins, I don't know what he is, an infielder, an outfielder, I don't know what's going on there. And then both Ashby and DL Hall, who both started games for them last year, pitching out of the bullpen. Dodgers. Otani, Betts 1 and 2. I'm just saying, they're both the perfect three hitters, but Betts has way more experience leading off. I would rather Otani bat third or fourth and put Betts at the top. And he's also not really a shortstop. Kim is also an infielder who they love to throw in the outfield, and then they use an opener one day, and then Kike Hernandez pitching a blowout, which is just fun. That's what he's been doing. Cardinal. I don't care if Wynn's batting 1 or 2. It's been great. Donovan plays his natural position second base, but what's the point of playing utility infielder Barrero in the outfield and Burleson in the outfield when you already have Jordan Walker and Lars Nootbaar, Siani, and Michael Scott? They got enough outfielders. They got to stop playing the infielders in the outfield. Steven Matz still starting pitcher by the bullpen. And lastly, what is the strategy of Herrera and Paez as your platoon catchers, but you're going to DH one, and then one day you're going to play Pojo, and Contreras is going to play first base, which is fine, if that's where he's positioned. But the DH for the catcher's not batting second, and you were wasting a DH spot. I've literally said you could DH Donovan, Gorman, Burleson, Luken Baker, somebody who is an infielder that has nowhere to play because there's too many guys. You're wasting DH spot on second and third string catchers on most teams. That's why it just makes no sense. Mets. It doesn't matter if Nimel's leading off or batting second. That's been great. He's not a five hitter. It doesn't matter if Marte's batting second. They moved Juan Soto down to 3 spot with Alonso 4. It's great. Jeff McNeil's been playing a lot more outfield when he's not an outfielder, especially center field. Lindor, with his pinky toe, he hasn't played every day, but he's not a leadoff hitter. We've been over this. And then Beatty's a third baseman, and with Vientos hurt, that's who should be playing there. Rocky. Beck is an offensive first player. I wouldn't say he's a really fast guy, and I want him leading off. Estrada should be batting either second or at the bottom. He's not a middle lineup hitter, nor is Brenton Doyle. Those are glove first guys. They used an opener one day with me and Senatella pitch out of bullpen. Freeman's an infielder playing the outfield, and RC is an infielder playing first base. Mariners. JP leading off is great with Julio third, but stop putting Julio or Cal Raleigh second. Keep Jorge Polanco there. That's where they belong. Dylan Moore played outfield and first base when, again, he's a middle infielder, and Mastrobuoni is also a middle infielder playing the outfield. LA. Neto leading off has been great. Trout is back. He's batting third. Ward is batting cleanup. The only issue is Nolan Schonenwell should be batting like fifth or sixth with Soler around him. Don't put him or Soler second. And then Reed Detmer is the starting pitcher playing out of the bullpen. Orioles. Jackson Holiday leading off or Westbrook leading off. Those guys make sense. Not Gunnar or Adley Rushman, nor any of those guys should be batting second. O'Hearn has no business playing the outfield, especially with Mountcastle alert. Mayo is not a first baseman. I think Mayo is a second baseman or third baseman, and there's no room for him. Maybe DH Mayo. I don't know what you're doing. Because batting, Mullins at the bottom or DH him is a waste. Laureano is a glove first player. He's no business batting cleanup. Nor, having, Gunner's perfect in 3 spot, but again, I think he's a little defensively challenged at shortstop. Westbrook got to play some second base with his actual position. They did the opener thing, the Orioles, and they lost. And Dean Kramer pitched on the bullpen. O'Hearn should always playing first base or DH. You got plenty of outfielders. You got Laureano, you got Dylan Carlson, Kerstedt, and Kauser, and Mullen. It's enough outfielders to last you for a while. 8. Butler, Wilson, Rooker, Soderstrom 1 through 4 is speed and contact with your RBI power guys, and eventually Slingalier is going to come back. That's how your lineup should be. Don't put Soderstrom in the outfield. Don't bat Rooker second. If Rooker wants to play the outfield so you can DH someone else, that's fine because he actually is an outfielder. They also did the opener one day and had Jefferson pitch out of the bullpen, which was interesting. This Davidson guy is not listed at third base, but they had him play there. And then, cool. They've had young outfielders jump both J.W. Bleday and Seth Brown off the depth chart. So both were either DFA'd and outrighted and then went through waivers or were sent down, whatever. They brought him back up because of injury. So you would think that J.W. Bleday would go back to being the everyday center fielder or playing center field. No, he's playing left field. And then when they don't play that young guy who keeps making these home run robbery catches, I think Clark or whatever his name is, Seth Brown is out there playing center field when he's not a center fielder. Put J.J. Bleday back in center and Brown on left. I don't know what you're doing. Atlanta, Acuna batting leadoff. I'm okay with it if the rest of the lineup was stacked. If the rest of the lineup is not stacked when either Riley or Baldwin are batting second when they should be batting fifth or sixth instead of Albies and Michael Harris. That's all I'm saying. Lastly, the Giants. Ramos, I was tired of him batting 1 or 2, and same thing with having Lee bat third. But Lee batting leadoff and Ramos batting third and Adames back to 2 instead of him batting for the 6. I'm speed and contact, and your RBI power guy. Clark Schmidt is now playing third base with Chapman hurt, so I don't have to keep saying, why is he playing first base? And Daniel Johnson started one day and he led off, which makes sense. Now, thanks again for listening to an edition of MLB Observations, Week 11 of the 2025 season. For On the Reddit Table Block, I'm Raider. See you guys next time.